Looking to move to Costa Rica, but trying to figure out the hacks that you need to actually get your budget in the right place? Well, then stay tuned. Where do I get all this money and what do I need to have prepared? Here today, I'm going to give you some facts that'll actually keep you on track and actually have you set in the right place. Now, I must say that I am not a financial advisor. I am just trying to tell you the things that I did to actually get here that's been working for me. And they're general enough that they give you a flexibility that you know which direction you need to head and you can tweak along the way. So tip number one. First of all, before we even get started, I recommend that you guys have an investment account. And for those who've started investing, when they were, 20 years ago, great, But those who haven't, and those who've been toying about it, or they haven't put as much money in their investment account as much as possible, I always am a firm believer that you need to invest. Now, when I say investment, I don't just mean stocks and options and things like that. I mean, whatever skill that you have in. So if you are good in real estate and you can get Airbnbs popping all over the country, then you need to actually have something growing for you. Because while you're in Costa Rica, you want to actually have money that's in the States that is actually growing for you. Now, I say this as, I wouldn't call it optional, but a very strong recommendation because you do want something that's continuing to grow for you as you're getting acclimated with your finances. Because if moving to Costa Rica means that you've had to transition out of job, or you're not planning to work, or you want to take an early retirement, whatever case you fit in, you want to know that your finances are covered and there's things growing. So that is tip number one, have an investment account. Tip number two, since we are talking about budgeting hacks, let's say have a budget. Now, this is, most of the video will actually be about having good budgeting sense. And some people love to look at Costa Rica and say, oh, I want to go here, the beach is going to be great, and I want to move over here. And they're letting their desires lead everything that they want to do in Costa Rica. And as I talked about in other videos, you want to have a good why, but your why matches up with your budget. You may say, I want to go to the beach, but why do you want to do that? Because it just looks good on TV. It looks good when you send out the postcards in December and you're at the beach. Or do you really have a like and passion for the beach and you just need to be close? And so how close you need to be will determine your price. Those different things you need to actually take in consideration. And so when you're planning your budget, it's not typically the same way that you operate in the United States. Because by this time in the United States, they're typically telling you, you need a house, you need several cars, you need 25 televisions, and you need. Well, doing that in Costa Rica will actually kind of bust your budget. And what I mean by that, if you move over here, and yes, I am a firm believer that you need to get home base first and to know Costa Rica. But if you move over here and the first thing you do is buy a house, you end up being house heavy because you really didn't give yourself time to acclimate to Costa Rica and you just tried to bring the United States over to Costa Rica, then all your expenses are going to be just that, high expenses. And unfortunately, it may price you out of what you really wanted to do for Costa Rica. The worst case is, if this happens before you got to experience your true why, your true reason for being in Costa Rica, to go on hikes and trips and to travel. If your house is too heavy, then it's going to block all of those different things and you're going to end up leaving Costa Rica wondering why it didn't work out for you. So having a budget is very important, and you want to have one that allows you to enjoy Costa Rica, go see different sites, even have a hotel or two while you're at a different part of the country, and of course eating out and taking some excursions that allow you to actually get to know and love Costa Rica for what it is. Tip number three, again, for those who have not determined a way to make their house an asset, I recommend to honestly sell it. And this is a personal, and you could go one way or the other, whatever you want to do. It is your choice, but everybody's unique. But my recommendation would be to sell your house. Why? The worst thing that you can have is have your hands in Costa Rica and have your hands stuck in the United States. If anything goes wrong with your house in the United States and there's no one to attend it, then it's all on you to handle. You're going to have to take care of responsibility. You're also probably paying your mortgage, so it's taken away from the funds that you have in Costa Rica, and you're just keeping it. And if you're not planning to go back on a regular basis and take care of it, then it's actually just a liability. What I mean by liability, let me be clear, a liability is something that you're just pushing out money. A lot of people think their houses are assets, honestly, because we were taught incorrectly that their house will bring value one day. Keep that house, because if you keep the house, then one day it'll, be worth $100,000 more. Houses do have limits, and so you need to know where your house ranges. Do you have that much equity? Are you making that much money? Did you put it in the right place? Will it be that way? And are you willing to hold on to it? And even in today's market, at least at the recording of this video, the market is doing very good. It's a seller's market. And so you have to ask yourself, is it giving you what you thought it was going to give you when everybody told you should buy it? And so you need to either figure out how to turn it into an asset where someone else is paying for your mortgage and they're giving you money in extra, such as maybe an Airbnb or maybe a full rental. But again, you need to know what you're doing before you get into that. If you don't, my recommendation really still stands, and honestly is what I did, is to sell the house. Tip number 4. This is definitely for those who are considering leaving their job. They're like, this is it, I'm going to quit and that's it. Before you just up and quit, you might want to ask your job, is there a severance package? A severance package is where the job actually gives you money to leave. And yes, I know it depends on your age and the time you've been there, different things like that. But those are the things that can actually help, again, put the money into the Costa Rican account, if you will, to get you over to Costa Rica and to be able to start that transition. Now, whether you get another remote job or you start a business or whatever you're going to do over here, that's neither here or there. A lot of companies are actually giving service packages if you decide to leave a few years early. Again, check with your financial advisor, do the numbers, run it over. But if it works for you, I just want you guys to be thinking of it. So if it helps you get to Costa Rica faster, then there is another option. Tip number 5, limit your expenses in the United States. Yes, I know we're talking about going to Costa Rica. We're gonna get there. But limit your expenses in the United States. Again, this is the same principle about having your hand in Costa Rica and the other hand in the United States. So my recommendation is don't have a storage or a car payment or anything that is just sitting in there in the United States for the what if monster to just keep playing with you. If you have assets or different things, and again, I said assets, because your liabilities, you're going to have to figure out, hey, do I want to bring them? Do I want to give to my family? But if you have some kind of asset that's there, you need to want to actually have, a good plan for it and to figure out, is it time to sell that asset? You definitely don't want a boat sitting in Florida while you're in Costa Rica with no plans of getting that to Costa Rica. So the principle of tip number 5 is essentially cut off all expenses that are possible in the United States. You don't want your United States money, especially if you're not going to be there, taken away from your Costa Rica money, which is the places you're going to be. Tip number 6, limit your expenses in Costa Rica. This is very important because while people say, oh, I'm from New York, I'm from California, and Costa Rica is cheap, or they'll say, I'm from another part of the United States and Costa Rica is very expensive. The goal of moving here and living and actually getting established is to first not just build your utopia if you don't know the land. Your first goal is actually to find your home base and get acclimated in Costa Rica. And then you're going to have time to figure out and do the research and figure out where you want to live. Before you just go putting up your expenses as high as possible and making a whole bunch of assumptions. Again, start small and get acclimated. Also, use this time to really understand your why, because it's going to tell you your needs. A lot of people come here and they just have the same believed needs, but they're actually just wants. Do you really need another cell phone every single year? Do you really need 3 cars? Do you really need 5 televisions? You don't actually need any of that. You don't actually need a television to live. Yes, it could be great, blah, 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 but they're not needs. And so many times in our cultures, I'm talking about the culture of the United States, is put on us that if you're not current, you're not getting all your needs met. And you have to figure out, especially during this time when you're starting over, you're doing a reset, if you will, of life, and you're going to say, okay, how do I keep my expenses? Well, let me start small. Okay, can I go without a TV? Okay, that's great. That's one expense I can keep down. Yes, can I go with 1 car? Yes, I can. Okay, so Those are the things that you want to actually take the time before you just dump everything that you had in the United States over to Costa Rica, because then your expenses will be higher. Keep in mind, United States is an import country. So you can shop on Amazon and you can be shopping around the world. And that's just one of many examples. But Costa Rica, you're going to pay huge taxes for importing things over here. So trying to mirror and match your lifestyle, even to some degree, you're actually going to have a more expensive time or more expenses in Costa Rica. So you want to be very careful and be wise about what you start adding into your life. Bonus tip, this ties everything in, and it actually comes to this. You need to have good spending habits, whether they're in the United States or whether they're in Costa Rica. Actually, no matter where you go in the world. If you're planning to move to a different country and experience different things, your spending habits need to be good. You can't just buy everything you see because they're going to blow your budget. And what I mean by budget, I mean not just your living, I can live and eat, but they're going to say, you know, can I travel? Can I enjoy life? And that picture looks different in Costa Rica than it does in the United States. And so this is where you really need to learn, if you don't have them, very good spending habits so that you can actually enjoy the life. Because it would suck to get all the way to Costa Rica and not afford to be able to do the things that you really want to do because you were so busy doing the things that you were used to doing. So if you want to know more about moving and living in Costa Rica, why don't you guys check out these 2 videos? And in the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you on the other side.